So today's podcast and guest training is with a formidable and the one and only, thank Christ, TJ from Elite X-Bed, former Army Commando, 14-peak record holder, and an all-round good egg. Welcome, TJ.
Oh, thank you very much, Callum, for having me.
I'm liking the backdrop, but that's just to make me feel like you're abroad and you're actually having some more lazy days, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm back in the office in the UK. Should be my name at the back, but it's okay.
Look what happens when Nims isn't about. You're taking loads of time off this year.
Yeah, it's been a good year, I think.
Yeah, mate. Okay, so TJ, tell me, I want to kind of go back away from the mountains to start with, because, obviously it all starts at the beginning. So, the beginning for you, were you born in UK or were you born in Nepal?
No, I was actually born in Hong Kong because my dad was also in the Gurkhas, and then
Okay.
so when he was serving in the Gurkhas, he was actually based in Hong Kong, and I was born in there, but I only lived there maybe a year or something like that, so I was quite young. And then we shifted to Nepal. I did my schooling in Nepal until 2005, and then end of 2005 I actually moved to UK and continued my study here, school, college, and all that.
And so when you then went on to join the army, yeah? And so you didn't go to Gurkhas, you went straight to army, British Army, yeah?
Yeah. Because I was already here, it was no
Uh-huh.
need for me to actually go to Nepal and actually join the Gurkhas. And to be honest, like army wasn't my first option anyway. Like I wanted to kind of like study. Well, I got a uni as well, like I lined up and everything. But the thing was like, I just thought like, okay, I just wanted to go to uni for a party, you know. I didn't even, I didn't even
Oh,
think about like, what course I was gonna take, and it was just like out of the random, out of the blue. And then I thought that, like maybe it's not a right idea for me to go. And then my parents always wanted me to join the military, and then I was like, yeah, why not? Let's try it out. And then yeah, in
I'm, su-
2016, yeah, I joined
I'm
in.
surprised you said you liked a party. I didn't know that.
Let's keep that down. Let's keep that quiet.
The only time you ever see you turn up if there's a party or if there's a meal.
Yeah.
So army was, what did you join the army as?
Yeah, so when I applied I applied as the Royal Engineers. So I joined in as the Royal Engineers. And then as soon as I finished all my training, my trade course and all that, we get to choose or put in our preference where we wanted to go. And I wanted to I wanted to go and do the Army Commando course down at Barnstable. And I was quite lucky and got sent over straight away. Within a week, I was already in the course. And yeah, first try, went in, passed it, and then I pretty much near enough finished all my career, 8 years of career in the Commandos. Yeah.
It's quite funny that you said that you get to choose, but we all know that the British, being ex-forces, we know that you don't have any choice. You might fill a box in it. You fill a box in that says choice, but that means nothing.
Unless you put like a 2-3 paramedic or down at 2-4 Commando Regiment, like you're guaranteed you're going there.
Dear. So, and did you enjoy your time in the army? Did you?
Yeah, I loved it, to be honest. It's about getting to know the boys, like being with the guys out there, and it's a lot of many things you learn. It's not just, you're going away on like deployments, you're visiting places on that. It's about learning from the basic, like learning the discipline. When I was a kid, I used to wake up and never even make my bed. But, going into the army, you actually wake up, you make your bed, you know, you understand a lot of things. I think it just makes you like a better person, and which has also helped me out in my career now. So, like I always, like if I look back now, definitely it wasn't a mistake that I joined the military.
I don't think I actually don't think anyone can say it's a mistake. Even the folk that join up with you and they leave after 8 weeks, 10 weeks, I still think they'll come away with something strong out of that period.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I think a lot of folk are lost. Like I mean, a lot of the young folk that I employ, they're lost. They don't know what to do. They've got peer pressure about going away to the going away to the party land or university, as you called it, um, and but they don't know what they want to do themselves. And I
yeah,
think the forces was pretty good for that. It lets you cement you down and it gets you a bit grounded. Even if you just done your minimum 4 years, you're going to come out a better person. But coming out isn't very easy. It's quite difficult. I found. I found it. It's a question I've got for you in a wee while. Actually, was
yeah.
about. Well, we'll go on it now. Did you find it difficult leaving the forces? Like, because you don't realize how militarized you are in life. Did you find that difficult, or is that being a bit easier because of the job you've got now?
Yeah, I think for me it was a little bit difficult, but it wasn't too much because the job I'm in now is kind of like a similar role that I was in within the military as well. But it's like in the military, like whatever job you get, you just crack on with it, because at the end of the day, that if you don't do it, that job is coming back at you. You know, we like
With some,
yeah, exactly. Like every like in the military, like shit job, like every shit job you get, you do it anyway. Coming out here is it's a little bit hard to like motivate people because in the military we were always like self motivated. But for me, it's like it was a little bit kind of like similar, like having the team there, telling the team what to do, leading the expedition. So it was kind of like similar for me.
yeah, that's kind of how I seen it with you. Like, obviously being on the mountain with you and stuff, and like I can see how that has probably really helped you, and made me think about you know coming out the forces. I found it very difficult because you don't realise how regimented you are. You don't realise it. You come out and then, like, I'm screaming at folk for not coming in to work and they haven't had a shave. And it's like, mate, they haven't fucking signed up for this. Or captain's round standards cleaning. Do you know what I mean? It's like, fucking hell. And also the way I spoke to people. If I spoke to people like that now, fucking hell, I'd be in trouble, like, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So it was, I did think when I was on the mountain with you that, you know, you're in still quite a military environment, and you need to be, but even more so because NIMS as well. So that's kind of double bubble
Yeah.
onto that one.
Yeah.
So when you were in the forces, what was kind of your favourite bit about being in the commandos?
I think like being in the regiment for me is about like all the like challenges and all the like competition and all that because like just being in the army you have to be the best and like being in that regiment itself like you had to be the best like there was no like shortcuts or anything like every guy's out there was fit so you always in a competition was like competing with each other at the same time, like I never knew I was gonna be a mountaineer. I thought I'm just gonna be in the military and my life's gonna finish in the military. Like and you have to think about the career, like if you're not fit enough, that means you're not getting your promotion. So you have to always challenge yourself. And like meeting the guys out there, they were all like all positive, like I don't think I had anyone who was thinking negative around me. They always thinking like positive. And it always helped me to push further and further and further. And like I said, like, like being in the military as well, you get like a free like traveling pass as well. So you go away abroad, you're working as well. Then you have like few days or a weekend off, just going out on a smash, like, so all this thing, I definitely do miss it. But at the same time, like I'm happy with what I'm doing now. Definitely
Yeah.
military has always built me or lead me or helped me who I am today.
I always said that if I didn't leave when I did, so I'd done same as you. I was in like 9, 10 years. If I didn't leave when I did, I'd have been a lifer. I'd have been in there the full time because it was you had to get out while you were young enough to still do something else or stay in for the cause. And I loved it, and I missed it when I left because it was the oppos, your mates. You know what I mean? It was like the lifestyle. All right, there's shit in it, but there's shit in everything that you do in life. But I
Yeah.
think the your oppos really lift you up. They really keep the spirits, like you said. It's very competitive, but it's also they'll grab you and lift you up when you're having a down moment, and I think that's kind of quite precious. What didn't you like about the forces? Was there anything in particular that kind of was shit?
Um, you can see now I can grow my hair.
And I've got a beard.
No, I think I didn't. I don't think there's anything I hate about military, to be honest, because I pretty much went in quite bland, like blind, like accepted what was in front of me. Uh,
Mhm.
like if I hated something, then maybe like I don't even know. I wouldn't be here right now. I think I wouldn't be this disciplined with my
Mhm.
career and all that. Um, I don't think I hated anything in the military. I loved it, to be honest. 8 years I've done it.
I,
I loved it every single day.
I did as well. Like even shit days weren't really shit days. They were just
Ah,
fucking moments that your ego took a battering. But the
exactly.
but what I found I didn't like, I couldn't wait to be shore based. I got shore based 2 hours away from home, and I fucking hated it because I was home every
Yeah,
weekend, and then you soon realised that we at home for the weekend was boring. It had no fun like being away with the lads, and it was
yeah,
like I go to the pub now, and it would be the guys that were still in them pubs 40 years ago are still sitting in the same pubs now, and it's like really, it's like they haven't moved on. So like
yeah,
I couldn't wait to get back to sea. That was
yeah,
the bit I hated was shore time. As
yeah.
daft as anything. Okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
so what was your biggest take home and biggest win in the forces? Was there anything you done or achieved that like was a proud moment for you?
Um, I think from the military overall is having that positive mindset is the outcome that I took. It's like how the military has made me or tested my physical robustness, made me mentally strong. Like I said, even doing a shit job, it's a shit job, but I still do it, because someone has to do it. It's having that positive thinking for me to actually tackle any challenges that came to our way. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest takeaway I actually took from the military.
I think one of the things that's probably been good for you as well is think on your feet. So like something happens, you're on a mountain, something happens. There ain't no fucking help. There isn't a phone to pick up. There isn't someone. There's not a shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You've got to just get down and get on with it. So I
yeah,
think that's probably been a big win for you.
yeah.
So
A quick
what led you to?
and all that, like it was really good. Really good.
So what led you to the mountains? Were you into hiking anyway?
No, no. So when I joined the military, I've done pretty much zero hike. I've never been on the altitude. I've done no hiking and all that. I went to like Snowdonia and all that stuff, but with like my CV friends, and we actually didn't make it. So it was only in 2017 actually. When I came back from 6 month deployment, and then I had like 6 week off, and then Nims was like, "Okay, what you doing in a 6 week off?" I was thinking maybe I'll go on a holiday, maybe I'll go for a little party or something like that. And then he was like, "Okay, no, why don't you just come with me to like Everest Base Camp? Like enjoy your time being in the mountain." And he was actually climbing for G200 as well, like for the Gurkhas, 200 years in the with the British military. I was climbing Everest, and I was like, "Yeah, why not? I'll come down anyway." And it was then I went down to pretty much for Everest Base Camp to Nepal. We flew into Lukla, and then for 6 months I was pretty much working on my fitness. I was like eating, having protein, pre-workouts, everything, and I was gymming everything. I thought I could take over the whole world. And we got to Lukla and we stayed there for 3 days. And then we went to Namche, and I was moving quite fast. Like I was moving really, really fast. And Nims was like, "Oh no, 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 you need to go slow because this altitude, this is a different ball game." I was like, "This is the slowest I can go." And I got to Namche, and straight away, like the altitude hit me, 3,400 meters, the altitude hit me, and I was like sick. I had a massive headache, and I was just like vomiting everywhere, like every hour. Like I was like, "Oh my God, I should have listened to you." Like from there, I had this altitude sickness. I think we stayed like over 2 days in Namche, and we slowly made ourselves forward to Everest base camp. I made it to base camp, but with a very big headache. And then on the way there, he was like, "Oh, do you know this peak?" I was like, No. This is my first time here." It was like, "Oh, this is my Labucha East. This is first 6,000 meter up peak I climbed." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Do you want to climb it?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't have any kit." And he was like, "Oh, you can use my kit." So I borrowed his kit. Ended up climbing one of the 6,000 meter peaks. I only meant to go to Everest base camp. After that, I fell in love with the climbing, the mountain view, the culture, like all the hard work that guys was doing, like the Sherpa people. It was amazing, like I think that was the time I was like, okay, I want to do this more. And then from there, like I tried to chase my dream, but at the same time, like being in the military, you never know. I was like it was very hard for me to like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job and get out. It was like that decision making. So
Because when you went to leave, how much notice period did the forces have then? I was a year and a half.
yeah, so for us, it was after we handed our notice, it was a year for us to
So
actually get
the
out.
decision, so the decision's a big decision, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a very big one. And then for me, it was quite lucky because I didn't take my decision in 2017 or 2018. I waited until 2022, you know? And then once I handed my notice in, I was pretty much out in 3 months. So I was quite lucky. Yeah, because the thing was like, I was already like good to go and everything was prepped, everything was lined. As soon as I was out, I was straight on the mountains anyway, and I pretty much went through my chain of command and I was like, okay, this is my plan. This is what happens if I do get out early. And pretty much everyone agreed. Everyone thought, like I was in safe hands. I was when I was like getting out. At the time, I was in the Minley in the Royal Engineers phase 2 training place. So that time I was like, okay, I wanted to finish the course I was running because it's good to see your guys like passing out and all that. I was like, yeah, I want to finish this course, then I want to get out. So give me like 3 months time, and I was pretty much out straight away after that, to be honest.
Hmm. So so Le Boucher was your first big peak.
Yes, it was.
So it's quite dangerous, really. I'm going to just say because I first met you April last year when I flew out to do Everest Base Camp with you guys, Elite Exped,
Uh-huh.
and you turned up for the welcome meeting and the leaving the leaving meal as well. Funny that, eh? Right, but I think I think it's so cost effective when you look at what you get for that money. Like I think everyone I've spoke to expect it to be like 10 grand to do base camp, and it's a fraction of that. And what you fall in love with that mountain pretty quick. The whole area, you fall in love with the Khumbu Valley. Every day is different. It's so beautiful. Like the people are beautiful. The Sherpas, just the guides, everyone. It's such a special thing. I've never been fed so well on a mountain. It's unbelievable. In Victoria, my wife, she went away to do, as you know, she went away to do it on her own to do Le Boucher
Yeah.
East there. Well, actually, that's a lie. She went to do base camp, and Nims messaged and says, "Nah, you can do better than that." So he strong armed her into doing Le Boucher, and now our mind's everywhere. Our mind's all over the place. She's like
Yeah.
she's hooked. So
Yeah.
that's what it does. That's what it does to you, isn't it? It's like unbelievable. So
Yeah.
so so when did you do your first Everest? Was that in the forces still, or were you out the forces?
Yeah, I was still in the forces. So I did Everest in 2022. So that was my second biggest peak. Directly
Second
from Lobu.
biggest.
Yeah. Directly from Lobuche to Everest in 2022. I was meant to do it in 2020, but then the COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do it then. And at the same time, being in the military, I still had to chase my military career. Um, Before I actually went to Everest as well, I went on the selection for Special Forces, UK Special Forces selection. I failed that. And then from there, I was like, okay, I've got nothing to do. I might as well go crack Everest. Well, it was not my plan. I was like messaging him. I was like, can I come to Nepal and crack on Everest? And he was like, yeah, come down. and then I pretty much went to Nepal. As I was walking up to base camp, I was talking with one of the guide out. He was like, "Oh, like you should just do Everest and Lhotse. You're in the military. You're fit enough to do it, and it's an extra 24 hours." And then I was like, "Yeah, yeah, why not?" And then I ended up doing Everest and Lhotse both.
whilst under leave from the forces.
Yeah. I, I did tell them, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go climb Everest. I'm going to use all my leave," and they were like, "Yeah, that's fine."
So what's your favourite thing about when you're on the mountain? Do you ever go actually? Are you often on the mountain on your own, or are you always leading a group?
For me, I'm mostly leading the group
Mhm,
on the mountain. Like normally I lead I like Aconcagua, like Kilimanjaro, like big groups out there, and on the 8,000 meter, I normally do it from base camp. Always lead from the base camp, making sure all the logistics are in place. Like each client got everything they need. The guides are in place with the logistics and all that. And then once I have my own client for 8,000 meter, I just actually just go up with my client, and that's it, pretty much.
mhm. And how do you deal with it mentally? Do you find that distraction's quite good for you? So, like, do you understand what I mean? So, like, if you're on your own, it's a mental game on the mountain anyway, isn't it? Especially at altitude. Altitude, I think, I remember when I done base camp, I remember arriving at Lukla Airport, getting off, the Sherpa grabbed my bag and I went up over the top edge of the airport, up the
Yeah.
steps, and I was thinking, fucking hell, I can feel this already. It's funny. It's funny how it gets you, but then I could see it affecting everyone as we went, and we had a few guys that were like suffering a little bit with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I was good with it. Like I could feel the effects of it, but I knew that this has to be how it feels. So I know it's quite a mental game, isn't it? You've got to get good with it in your head.
Mhm.
How do you find that when you've got a group of people, it takes your mind off of you and you're just focusing on other people? Do you think that helps you, or does it not make no difference to you? It's so ingrained in you now.
Yeah, I think for me it's like, because now I've climbed all this peak, and like I'm continuously on the mountain throughout the year.
Hmm.
Like everything comes more naturally now, because like the one biggest rule or one biggest thing that you have to understand in the altitude is your own body, how it
Hmm.
reacts to the altitude. Like we as a guide, or we as an expedition leader, we can give you guys advice like, okay, do this might help you, do that, this might help you. But at the end of the day, you're the only person that knows your body and how it reacts to the altitude, and you're the only judge for that. And like for me, doing all this peak, I now understand my body fully, like how my body actually reacts to the altitude. And now when I run the group, it's more of me like trying to help the group than understand myself, because I physically know this is how I move, this is how I acclimatize, and like up to this certain altitude there's not going to be any problem for me. So this is now, for me, it's like giving more advice and more helping,
Hmm.
more of the more of the team. And like having an individual, one person is definitely going to be easier than handling the group. Like you're only taking care of one person.
Yeah,
But
and
group,
and
you always get, like it's everywhere, but it's more fun.
yeah, because like I mean, I seen you on Akakango. I was with you guys, but with my own guide, and you had the group below me, and it's funny when you're outside the group and you see dynamics of a group.
Yeah.
It's a hard graft that. But I think one thing you've got to realise, I would say, is at altitude, just because you're good at, let's say, 8,000 meters, doesn't mean to say the next time you're there your body's going to react the same. It can be different, can't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. It's not going to be the same, because it's something like, like once you get to a certain altitude, next time you go in it, maybe after a year, you're not going to be like acclimatized to go into altitude straight away. But what it does is your body actually knows that altitude. So once it
Hmm.
goes there, once you go into that certain altitude again, your body will be like, oh, okay, I've been to this altitude before. I know how to react. There might be a little bit of slow process, but your body will acclimatize faster than someone who hasn't been to that altitude before, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
So that's how it works for us as well, you know, like even though we climb every year, we still take that normal process, that basic process of slowly acclimatizing and climbing up through the altitude.
I remember you telling me when we were at the leaving dinner, you were telling me about, we were talking about altitude sickness, and I said one of the things I found strange would have been Gora Shep, so the last camp at base camp, and I was lying in bed and then I woke up choking, like, because like just not getting enough oxygen. I said, so I propped my head up, and you said, oh yeah, yeah, that really helps. And you said to me, that happened to me the first time, but no one had told me I needed to prop my head up. You said, if they told me that at the start, it'd have been a lot better.
Exactly. Like, you know, like when I actually went, I think for Nims as well, like he was at that time, he was also like starting on the mountaineering. He's done like a couple of 8,000 meters and all that. And then, you know, like all this information now we know, like little bit of tips and techniques that we know now. A lot of people don't share that, and I think like if you have a client or a group, you definitely need to like share that little bit of experience. That small little tip can, you know, like help them out in like a long term, you know, like
I'm going to be honest though, right? So from the minute I met you in Nepal last year, you are a people person. And I get that can be a lot from forces. So you're just used to being around folk and adapting. But I've seen you on well, I've been on the mountain with you a couple of times now, and you're shit hot on the mountain. You know, like, I mean, not just as a mountaineer, climber, but as a leader, like fucking hell. And I know the forces have ingrained a lot of that in you, but they haven't ingrained it in the way you do it. You are, and I've said this to Nims, me and Nims have had chats, and I've said about how good you are on the mountain with people. You're a people person. So you can lift people, you can motivate people. You're just always smiling, no matter what the fuck's going on. You're always smiling, you know. And you know what I mean. You need that because not everyone, even though folk have paid to be there, they're going to have a struggle. Like I say
yeah,
to everyone, you no matter how good you are, there's going to be a day that you're going to have a hard day, or even a hard hour. It doesn't even need to be a day. So being around people like you is very motivating. You know what I mean? And that's what I love it. I just see how as soon as you see someone and they're struggling a little bit, you're onto them and you're there guiding them, and you're before they know it, you're taking your mind off it, and your smile and your passion it is very strong on a mountain, 100%.
thank you
So
very
tell
much.
me, that's okay. You can pay me later. So tell me, how did the goal of the 14 peaks come about? So for folk that don't know, the 14 peaks is the 14 highest peaks in the world, and they're all over 8,000 meters. So how did that goal come about for you?
Yeah, so I think for me was like first I never knew I was gonna go into like mountaineering world and climb mountain and all that, like let alone like think about this 14 peak. I don't even think most people knew about 14 peak until like Nims Climb Base smashed it, you know, set a record and everyone knew about 14 peak. And that was probably the only time I knew about 14 peak as well, you know. Um I after I climbed the Lhotse, and still being in the military, after I climbed Everest and Lhotse, I was like to Nims, okay, like, this is the time for me to get out. I think I enjoy mountaineering more. I want to come out. And it was like, yep, you know, like come in, join the team and all that. I joined the team. After that, you know, like I wanted to do more climbing, but in my own pace, you know, like I want to take my time, you know, I want to do climbing if we have enough clients, or if I get like a client, like I want to climb it in that way. And one day, Nims actually asked me like what I wanted to do, and I was like, you know, like eventually as a dream, like I definitely want to do 14 peak, you know, like because this would not just because I want to accomplish it, it's because now I'm in this mountaineering field, I need to know about this mountain, you know, like if one day there's a client that comes in and or a team this inquire about like 14 peaks, I need to understand each of the mountains so I can describe to them what challenges are there, what difficulties are there in their own mountains. So I wanted to do it for the work. Um, but I want to do it in like a slow pace. I was like names. I want to do this, but I want to finish in like 5 years or 6 years time in a very slow pace. And he was like, "Okay, you're gonna smash it." But
Okay, but no.
but then yeah, we tried in 1 year with unfortunate things that happened in the mountain. We didn't actually complete it. It took me about just over 2 years. But yeah, after finishing on 14, like I have better knowledge, better understanding, better experience in the mountain now. Um, so yeah, now I'm just pretty much helping out the guys, helping out the team, helping out my clients to achieve their new goals. Yeah, but pretty much 14 Peak came out kind of like once I got into the mountaineering.
So, okay, this is quite a tough one, really, because we had big problems on Shishapanga when you were
Yeah.
originally trying your 14 peaks. We had an avalanche.
Mhm.
Um, do you want to talk about that? About like how that affected you? Because you were climbing with Anna, who was
Yeah.
also doing her 14 peaks as well, wasn't she?
Yeah. She was, yeah.
And so, do you want to explain kind of what happened and how you dealt with that? Because that's a
Yeah,
big
yeah, yeah.
thing to come back from.
Yeah. So yeah, Sishapangma is the last 14 peak with the altitude as well, and for me as well, because before that we completed all the 8,000 meters. Sishapangma was the last one. Once we got to Sishapangma, for the first year we tried in, natural disaster happened, something we cannot, like stop or avoid. A huge avalanche happened, which swept away, three of our team members. Within that three, one of the guys survived. One of the Sherpa guide, Karma, and then two passed away, who was Anna and Mingmar. Mingmar and Anna, we were actually climbing all together. It was the final peak for Anna as well, at Shishpangma, and for me as well. So we was actually completing our 14 peak together. We climbed pretty much 8,000 meter peaks together. We met in Akangawa in 2023, beginning of 2023 in Akangawa. We climbed Akangawa together. That was our first interaction, and then from there, she had this plan of finishing the 14 peak as well. Then with my plan as well, it worked together, and we had this team for that as well, and we were climbing all together. You know, seeing your team like getting swept away, and then I was actually one of the few people who actually went down for searching for the body and searching for the rescue. Seeing them pass away in front of you, it was like kind of like a hard time. Like everything hits you there and then. Um, that time, the second avalanche hit as well, which wiped away three members from a different team as well. Within that, two people died as well, and then one person survived. So, at that time, with the two survivors there, we had to take the priority, and then we had to get them out as quick as possible from the mountain. We got them out. Once I was, like back at base camp, it was like, you know, something just happened that I was not expecting. I felt like this a huge rock or the world has just collapsed on me. Um, Once we got to the base camp, we're trying to do the rescue or the recover of the body because we know where the body was. With Nims's help and with the other guys' help, we actually brought the bodies down to Camp 2. With I don't know how the politics works out there. Like they didn't let us bring down the body to base camp, so we had to leave it leave in Camp 2. Once we got back, thinking that we were together when we got to base camp, but now I'm walking back down the base camp alone. Like it was a very hard time because out of all this, after all this climbing, we share everything. Like because in the mountain we don't have internet or anything, so we just used to sit down. Like eat and just like talk about everything. Like like even I never met her family. I felt like I already met her family because like we used to talk about everything. We shared everything. Once I got back, like I think the difficult moment was actually facing our family, like having like seeing them, like felt like I knew them before, like after all the conversation we had, and like not bringing her down, like like that was the biggest like regret I had at that moment. Um, and like having that conversation with their family was like the hardest time for me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not until the next year springtime they allowed us to go back and do it, but we had to take like a small team. I had to be on Everest for that season. Nims built up a team and actually went up to Shishapangma and bought the body down. I think that was a time when my mind was like, yes, like finally I think I can relax a little bit, because having that family, like maybe, even though she's not alive, like reuniting them together probably was the biggest achievement for me at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and then going to her funeral for the last time as well, to say the
Mm-hmm.
final goodbye was like, it was, I think it was I felt really good at that time, like I had that opportunity to do that. After that, like the second year, that year we had to go back to Shishbangwa. We had to finish that 14 peaks. Like people had in the team had that dream of finishing the 14 peaks, so we had to go back. That time going back to the mountain was really really hard for me. Like my having that mindset, like in my mind, I was like, I'm 100% focused. Like I need to get up there. I need to finish the dream, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not just my dream. Like if I completed that peak, it was for me, it was completing my dream, it was completing Anna's dream, and it was completing Mingma's dream as well.
Mm-hmm.
But my heart was 50-50. Like I was scared. Like I was scared to go back to the mountain. Like it was, what if same thing happens again? Like what if it was me this time? Like, or what if it was like one of our team again this time? Like, how would I feel? I was happy to, like, at one point I was happy to, sit down with my 8,000 meter peak. I was like, bro, I'm like done with that. But
Mm-hmm.
same time, like I had my team, they were giving me all this positive like energy. They were like, like TJ, you need to go back. Like this is not just for you. You're not going back. You're doing it for the whole team. You're doing it for Anna, and you need to do it for Mingma. And that was the reason I actually went back. And like being at top, summiting the final peak, it was very emotional for me. The final peak.
Yeah, I remember before you went, because we talked about this on the hill, and you were like talking quite deep about it, and I could see what it meant to you, and I think it makes you realise the dangers. But you always know the dangers are there, but when something happens so close to you and so
Yeah.
personal to you, then it changes it. So my next question was about going back to complete it. Now that I know that the first time you were doing it, you were just going to complete 14 peaks. The second time, you weren't going to complete 14 peaks, really, were you? You were, but it was about more than that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like once like the reason I had to go there was definitely to finish my 14 peak. Like the second reason was definitely, like once I finished that 14 peak, like it was not just for me. It was, like for Anna, and also for Mingma as well. And as like, because we didn't finish the 14 peak then, and we was finishing the 14 peak the second year, my team actually did some research as well, about what happens if I finish the 14 peak. The third reason was pretty much once I finished the 14 peak, I, like I become the youngest British male to actually complete all of it. So yeah, with all this reason in place, like there was not a reason why shouldn't I go back, and yeah, I pretty much went back in 2024 autumn, finished it, completed, like because of all these reasons.
And the funny thing is, though, if you didn't go to complete it, Anna would have been going mental at you, wouldn't she? She
Definitely,
would. She would have been saying, "What the fuck are you doing?
yeah.
Get your ass up that hill."
Yeah, yeah, definitely. She would come down. She would slap me on when I was sleeping or something like that. She wouldn't been very mad. Like it was a very like emotional like connection we had as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't get any like a best climbing partner than her. You know.
Mm-hmm. So, like the last, not the last. myself and Victoria, we signed up to Kilimanjaro, but it was a master class with Nims himself and yourself. And we wanted to do it because I'd not hidden the goal that they're hiding to anyone that I want to do Everest. As a child, I wanted to do Everest and I wanted to go North or South Pole. That was my goals. And I put them to bed because it's kind of crazy goals when you just like for no reason. You know what I mean? It's a bit mad. But like I said at the very start, I'd done base camp because Victoria bought me that for my 50th. She said, "Why don't you go and do it? Because you'll see if you like it or not. You might not even enjoy it." So, but obviously we all know what happens there. It gets you, hooks you. But before I'd even left, we'd booked to do Killy with yous. And then once we got to Killy, obviously, it was announced that this was something that Anna was going to do, wasn't it? She was going to start running like a Killy trip. And so this was kind of in memory of her, and her family came along to do it with us. I felt so privileged to be around her family, herself, hearing the stories, and it's sad stories, but it's quite empowering, like I'm a believer you've got to look at the positive and everything, even though that's a very negative story. There's so many positives that have come out of it. You've probably become a better climber for it because you've probably changed approach or maybe think a little bit different. But I was myself and Victoria were so privileged to come and do that climb with you. And I remember climbing with Nims, and it was the first day, and we were told to stop. We were told we just got dropped off, and we were away to set off to Camp 1. And Nims got everyone to take their backpacks off, sit down, and he's like, "Put your fucking phones away." And I was like, "Fuck, someone's still in the military, right?" But I know why, because in his head he's got, it's his name on the line. He wants to make sure everyone's proper, everyone's listening, and no one hasn't listened to this first briefing because it's so important. But I remember him telling his little stories, silly little things about how using your water bottle with hot water and putting ice in it and drinking it so you can make that 1 litre, 3 litres and stuff. And I'm there with a different goal. I'm there because I'm wanting to learn as much as I can from you guys to see if I can go any further. And I fucking loved it. You know what I mean? I think the experience was mind-blowing for me, and again, it hooked me too much. I shouldn't have gone. I shouldn't have even done the first fucking climb. It would have saved me a fortune. So have you ever summited an 8,000er with no oxygen?
Not yet. And I think it's completely crazy for me, I think.
Okay, so for people that don't know, normally 7,000 you go on oxygen, yeah?
Yeah, after 7,000, normally you go on oxygen.
Okay, because the effects of the lack of oxygen in your body makes you feel, it's like that drunk feeling, isn't it? Drowsy, not in control. You go from being, me, age 50, age 90 pretty quickly. But I know from like talking to yourself, Ming David and Nims and Ming Tenzin about, if you go on oxygen over 7,000 when you're walking, it means that you've still got the energy to keep going. You're still going to be knackered. But if you're not on oxygen, you're a lot slower. Yeah. And I remember, I think it was Mingma David was telling me that he was out getting his camera out, he was getting the drone out, doing one of the 8,000ers, and Nims was there, and he said Nims was away. He was fucking gone. And he says the difference between having oxygen and not oxygen, and he says but Nims just gets his head down and he just fucking goes. Mingma David said it's impressive. But what most people don't understand is like Nepalese people's body is built different. It's built for the mountain, isn't it? They can adapt to the climate, the altitude in a total different way. Like when you go into base camp and you've got Sherpas going past, carrying fridge freezers on their back in flip-flops, going past you, and you've got a tiny little backpack on, and you're wheezing and struggling, and they're going whizzing past you. So, do you think your body would cope with no oxygen above 8,000?
Yes, I think it would, but it does take, like a lot of training, a lot of dedication to do that as well. Like everything has to like we have to like slow everything down. We cannot just like, for example, for me, like every person's body is different. Even like, like I cannot compare my body to Nims, like Nims cannot compare his body to Mingma David, like someone else cannot compare their body to us. Everybody like reacts differently, and it's about like how your body, knowing about how your body actually acclimatize in the altitude. For me, definitely, I think like at the moment I don't have any plans of doing it without oxygen, but if I do have a plan of doing one of the 8,000 meter without oxygen, like I have to do some sort of training, like training myself like both physically and also like like I think mentally I'm there anyway, but with
Mhm.
physically as well I need to do some more training because it's about acclimatizing in a different way. Like I just don't want to be getting just up to the summit and then I cannot come back down. Like maybe if I do Monasto, I need to go up to Camp 4 on my rotation phase, touch Camp 4. Acclimatize much more in a higher altitude, so it gives me more chances of actually summiting without use of oxygen.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a bigger risk as well.
Yeah,
And do you need that risk? Unless it's something that your heart's set on, it's a risk that is it worth it? Unless it's something you
yeah,
really need. So
yeah,
what's next for you then? So like you've achieved so much at a young age. Let's face it, on a second career as well. So what's next goal for you?
I think my next, well, if with climbing wise, my next biggest goal will probably be completing my seventh summit. So I've done the seventh summit is pretty much climbing all the seven highest peaks in the seven continents.
Mhm.
I've already completed four of them, so I've got three left. One I will be finishing pretty much end of this year in Indonesia and Kasten, and then I've got two more left, which will be Vincent and Denali, which I'm not in a rush of. I think my main goal now is actually helping people out with their mountain goals. Like sharing my experience, giving them the right path to follow, helping them out in any expedition as it comes. I think that's my biggest next goal is actually helping people out. There's a lot of people out there, with many, many experience, but they actually don't share experience to their own clients. Maybe there is a language barrier or something like that, but for me, it's about sharing everything I know to help them
And
out.
that's what you and that's your strength is that by a mile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on the latest record on Everest 3 days? And I know you were part of this. You were part of the
Yeah.
planning and the rotation.
Yeah. So
Although
I was.
before we go any further, I'm going to tell you, fuck, you're some sneaky little bastard. I tell you, because when we were in Akakangwa, I asked you a question about folk going to do it quickly, and you were like, "Nah, I don't know anything about it." And then as soon as that happened, I thought, "You little bugger."
um. Yeah. I think. To be honest, it was more of a like a test of like we ha- we had this client who approached us, said like, like I want to do like the fastest ascent of humanly possible for Everest from sea to summit. There's definitely a risk, like we always tell that if you're trying to do anything fast, it will decrease the chances of you summiting, and it also
Mhm.
puts a lot of risk in your life and your team members' life, like so we always put it out there. If we have to do anything like stuff like this, we always have to follow the safety protocols. We have to make um extra safety out there to make it work, and we have to try it our best. Now with mountaineering like evolving and like changing and everything, there's always going to be like different styles of work, different styles of climbing and all that, and we definitely have to like follow that. If someone has a goal of achieving something, we are there to help. You know, if something does fail, you know, like we always tell them from the start, you want to do this, these are the chances of you doing it. With this 4 days of summiting, you know, the plan changed so many times within this project. You know, like I was just like, oh my god, like the first time I actually came from Nims actually, and Nims told me, and I was like, who's this crazy person actually doing it? But it took a little bit of time for me to actually calculate how I'm gonna plan this. You know, like how I'm gonna get
Mhm.
the guy up there, how I'm gonna put the safety protocol and everything. It took a lot of time to actually put it in place. But you know, the guy who was coming in, like Andrew, and you know, he was completely amazing. He was really fit, you know, like mentally he was really strong, you know, like even though like he was like falling about in places and all that. I just tell him, you know, Andrew, you need to screw the nut, you know, like, you need to keep cracking on. You know, you'd be like, okay, let's keep going. Like it was never a time he said, okay, I'm gonna quit. You know, so you also need like people like that as well. You know, who
Mhm.
wants to push, but there's always a boundary of how far you push as well.
Far you
If
can
there's
go.
like, yeah,
So for
if
people,
I
so for
see
people that,
something like, yeah,
so for people that don't know, he climatized at home. So like outside this door, I've got the altitude generator there, which I sleep in bed at night. Last night, Victoria said it's like sleeping next to a fucking jumbo jet, and I'm in the tent. Right. So he done that, and then he also was testing this new gas that they're like mixes in the body a little bit different and allows you to push a bit harder. What's your thoughts on that gas? Do you think that's going to be revolutionary in the industry, or do you think it's still a bit early days for that?
um, with that as well, you know, like I said, like the ways of climbing is changing. You know, like people
Yeah.
are testing out different things out in the mountain. The climbing ways are changing. You know, like, and I think for the science reason, we do need to let them, you know, try it out. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, you know, like we still need to know or see how, you know, practical it is, how safe it is. You know, like until until the result has come out, you know, like it might take maybe another few goes of using the gas and see how it
Yeah.
reacts to the people's body. And we have to see it in the long term time, you know. Maybe we do it now, and then in the long term, like people are feeling that effect, and it's not good, it's not natural, you know. But like I said, the style is changing now. We need to let people
Hmm.
test and trial out stuff out in the mountain. Same with the equipment as well. Like everything, new equipments are coming out. Everything needs to get tested and trialed out. At the end of the day, if it works, it works, and then it's up to the government to bring out, you know, like
Hmm.
this all these new rules if they can climb it or not.
So for the people that don't know, Nims is actually a brother-in-law. Yeah.
Yep.
So how how's he influenced your life? You're going to say how's he wrecked your life? How's he influenced your life? Does he influence you a lot on the mountain?
Yes, he does. To be honest, like Nims was pretty much one of my idols. I always looked up to. You know, like I knew him since probably was 2026. You know, like when he was actually dating um, with my sister,
I
and
don't
then
think it was 2026.
oh, not
That's next
2026,
year.
2000. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah. From that time, I knew him. You know, like he's always been very like self motivated. You know, like he was always taking out me for runs. Like even though I wasn't even in the military at that time. You know, I was still a kid, and then he was always taking me out, making me do sports. You know, like he used to get involved and all that. And he has always been there, you know, like not just him, my sister has always been there, like they've both been supporting me whatever I wanted to do, you know.
Mhm.
He also showed me once, I was like, okay, I want to join in the military. Like after I finished my college, I was like, where should I go? And he's the one who said, okay, go in here, do this, follow this path, this is the way to do it, and then once you're done you can try out this and all that. So he always showed me that path. And you know, like from there as well, from military, him climbing the mountaineering, you know, like breaking many world records and all that. after that, like I was like, okay, maybe I want to do this as well. And it helped me, like throughout what path I chose. And it has
Mhm.
also helped me with all the tips and techniques. Like I always been like working on the shadows like throughout as well. Like even when in the mountain, like before I even like leading this like, expedition, I was like working underneath like Nims's shadow, like I was always following and taking notes of what he was doing, like, like how he was making decisions and all that. With all that experience now, I'm actually leading many expedition for the company. And, like
Yeah.
he's always been there. He's always going to be my idol, I think.
And what about Migma David? Has he had a big impact on you?
Yeah, Mingma David, like he's one of the legendary climbers out in Nepal. Like everyone knows in the mountaineering world who Mingma David is. I met Mingma David in 2017, actually, when I went to Everest Base Camp. He's tiny. you know, he's small, and I was like, how can he be? Like how can he carry so much weight, or how can he guide up in the mountain? Oh my god! Then when I saw him in the mountain, he's a complete animal. Like with the size of him, the back. I think the backpack weighs like twice the more than him, and then. Like he's an amazing person. He's got so much knowledge for the mountain, and every time if I'm confused about something, I always go up to Mingma David. Not only Mingma David, Mingma Tenji, like
Yeah.
he's been amazing to like
Who's just
help.
become a father?
Yeah, who has just become a father as well. I saw it this morning as well. Yeah. But yeah, both of them guys, Mingma Tenji, Mingma David, like I think throughout where I am today, like with all the experience and all the knowledge I got is definitely from like Mingma David, Mingma Tenji, and Nims. And also all these the guides who are in the team of elite, they
Hmm.
always help me out as well. I'm learning every day.
Mingma David is just tiny. I remember when we were on our way back down from Kilimanjaro. Remember we were doing a photo and he says, "Here, get on the edge of that tree," and then he started climbing the tree. Remember? And the next thing, he's at the top of the tree thinking he's funny, and he snaps a branch and falls out.
I think I think that's more best moment of Kilimanjaro so far.
He is such a nice guy. It's unbelievable. Like it's so yeah. I've got a lot of time and respect for David. I think he is an absolute goat, isn't he? When you see him and you're like, how the fuck can you carry a bag up a mountain? You know what I mean? It's like it's just tiny.
Yeah.
So the mountains are very, I didn't realize how much, but it's so political, it's unbelievable, either with government or with other climbing communities or just people. It is unbelievable. Whereas like I thought it was going to be just like everyone was the best of friends, but it is quite a tense environment. And I understand now why you, you would probably not tell people you're away to summit today because it gets too political on the mountain and you announce it later. I found that quite disturbing because I thought it was like, it's a shame that people can't be, it's a too dangerous a place for politics to get involved. Because like ex-navy at sea, I always say if something happens at sea, you're on your own. It's like a mountain. You're on your own up there, and it's a dangerous place. But I think Elite Exped, you guys hold your own unbelievably. I think when you get to the peak like you guys, there's always folk going to go and try and chop you down because it's just jealousy. But what you do with fixing ropes so other people can get to the top of these mountains, so you guys and the Sherpers will lay the lines all the way to the summit so that other people can follow and make their dream. I think that's commendable, and I really do take my hat off to you. But I want to just finish off on what you do. Do you want to explain about the tidy up and the foundation that you have got and what you do for the mountains?
Yeah, so mountain, like like there's definitely a lot of rubbish up there, like, and like it's like definitely we do take rubbish because we do need to like survive up in the mountain. We have to like live there, we need to eat there and all that, like, and there's sometimes there are reasons why we cannot bring stuff down. Like for example, bringing you come down to Camp 4, there's a rescue there's someone who needs a rescue, you know, what is important, you know, like bringing down a 10 kilo worth of rescue or worth of rubbish, or saving someone's life and bringing them down, you know. There's things like where, you know, there are reasons why things do get left there. And it, you know, like, and it's not easy to clean everything up in one go, you know. And but there are like things in place, like we have like Nimsdai Foundation, which is supporting the big mountain cleanup, which our company does it as well. We have done it in Everest, Manaslu, and K2, where we have brought down over 200 kilos worth of all the rubbish and everything that is left up there. But you know, like, it is expensive, you know. Like, there's many guys that is working out there, you know. Like, it's not, they don't work for free, you know. Like, people do need to get paid for what they do, and it's a, you know, it's a dirty job that they have to do as well. And it's not definitely a one person job. I think more companies definitely need to get involved into it. And I think, like, you know, like, the biggest is the government itself needs to get like very involved into this, because one person cleaning up will make a difference. But if everyone puts their hand in and everyone works together, I think we can come out with a bigger results.
And also, the government is making money off all these people coming into the country to climb.
Yep, definitely, yeah.
You know? Okay, so I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for what you've done for me in Victoria, personally, on the mountains. Your support, your smile, the amount of dal bhat you can consume is unbelievable. But no, I want to thank you and Nims, Mingma David, Mingma Tenzin, and the whole of Elite Exped. I wouldn't climb with anyone else because I feel 100% safe. I think the military part is a big part for me, but also how once you get to know Nims, David, and yourself and Tenzin, you realise what it means to you. It's not about making money. It's about enjoyment. It's about the mountain. It's about other people's goals and experiences. And I wouldn't go with anyone else. And I would encourage anyone that wants to go climbing or wants to even sample it. This is the company and the place to do it. So thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. And I will see you in Manaslu, Nepal, in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, quite soon now.
Yeah.
Not long left.
Shit.
Yeah.
I better start training. Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Callum, for having me. And then, yeah, I'll definitely see you down in Manaslu, and then we'll go for some few drinks.
Cheers, my friend.